Welcome back, everyone, to the 10th part of Aquaphobia. I don't have much to say, so let's just get right into it. Part 10, Guilty Conscience. Arthur sighed, his fingers tapping the image, his scowl tugging at his lips. He felt guilty for even thinking so possessively or feeling the need to protect her, but he couldn't help it. He still felt like he was walking on eggshells around Adrian. And here she was, having fun. No, not just having fun with Atticus Legrand. He couldn't help but feel jealous seeing Atticus's hands on her waist as the couple laughed. He didn't like how affectionately Atticus was looking, nor did he like the type of song they chose. He huffed, pocketing his phone and signing up from his friend. Hey, where are you going? Natalie asked, raising an eyebrow at him questioningly. Something came up. I need to get home, he responded, throwing on his jacket and grabbing his keys. I'll see you in the phone later for a drink. While I'm gone, take care of them. He gestured with his hand towards his former team, who were in a heated game of foursquare. Even as adults, they were still so childish. Ah, okay. Drive safe, said Talia smiled, nodding in agreement. He turned and walked out to his car in the parking lot, scrolling through his contacts until he came across Adrian's. But he didn't get the chance to call her as another call broke through. He was slightly irritated and didn't bother to see who had called him, answering the call immediately. What? He answered annoyedly. Party! A sweet voice sang on the other side of the line, and just by the nickname, Elaine knew who it was. He let out a sharp grunt, his lips still fixed in a frown. He started his car and transferred the call to his car phone before beginning to travel and search for the copilot. He drank a lot. It wasn't really a question, but he didn't want to scare her. No, not a whole lot, I think. She hesitated. Just one, or three, or five, maybe one more. She counted off, which made him sigh again. Where are you right now? I'll give you a ride home, he asked, and heard her giggle in response. It's a karaoke bar. VIP? Yeah, VIP. She clapped her hands together, and even though he sighed once again, he couldn't help but smile slightly. He forgot how childish she got when she drank too much. Stay where you are with your friends. I'll be there in a few minutes, okay? He asked, the line quiet for a little, while before she mumbled a quiet okay in response. Bye. He ended the call, navigating to the familiar meetup location within 10 minutes. Once he arrived, he parked at the curb and locked the door, heading inside while dialing Adrian's number. She answered quickly, alleviating his stress only by a smile. I'm here. Where are you at? He asked. Behind you. He heard her say, abruptly turning around to see the girl a little red in the cheeks. He looked her over, her short black dress and minimalistic accessories taking him clear to start. Ending the call and ignoring her as she whined that he was so rude for hanging up on her despite him being right in front of him. Her. He took off his jacket and draped it around her, given their sizes, and the fact that it was already a bigger jacket on him. She was practically swimming in the dark gray fabric, the sleeves far too big and the jacket covering her down to the tops of her knees. She finally looked up at him, at first a little puzzled and confused before she smiled cheekily, throwing her arms around him and giggling. He barely caught her around the waist to keep her from face planting on the floor, his heart hammering in his chest. Come on, we're drunk and need to sleep. He patted her hip, and she whined in protest. No moving. I'm going to throw up if I move. She begged. He sighed, looking around before kneeling in front of her. Get on my back. I'll carry you, he instructed her, and he saw her hesitate. So he grabbed her hand, bringing her around and flinging her onto his back. Got up slowly, his hand supporting her under her thighs, and she swung her arms loosely around his neck. He straightened carefully, then began walking back to his car slowly. "Why do you have to go and drink so much? It really isn't good for your health," he sighed, securing her in the car and helping her with the seatbelt. He was about to leave, but her hand grasped his wrist, keeping him from moving away unless he wanted to hurt her. He turned back to her, waiting for her to speak. "I'm upset. Why wouldn't I drink?" she murmured, and his expression softened. He knelt down to her level, her hand still grasping his wrist. "Still not good for you, nor for your recovery. If you're upset, you could have told me, and I could have helped you," he offered, panicking when he saw tears run down her cheeks. He stroked her arm, trying to provide comfort, but he didn't exactly know how. She had never really cried in front of him before. "My father," she drawled, her voice pitched in a ragged whine due to her intense internal emotions. "With what?" he asked, keeping his voice calm and level. It had been a while since he had dealt with this level of emotions, and Adrian was a whole different matter in itself. He knew that she hid her emotions quite well before the practice smiled in the hole. This was the result of all of her disguise, her perfectly painted disguise, threatening to shatter. She threw him an intense glare. "I'm overweight and ugly, and why are you helping me?" she whined, hugging herself tightly as her tears fell from him. He was baffled by what color had just come to him. "And Anita is likely. And who told you these lines?" he asked, looking away to give her some level of privacy, but never leaving her side. His hand remained on her knee, which was where his eyes currently focused on. "You're the whitest person I've ever had to carry, which we will be talking about most or so. And you were absolutely breathtaking," he glared at her knee. She hiccuped, choking on the sob. "I'm just saying that because I'm mean," she sniffled. "I'm no idiot ex-girlfriend, childhood best friend. Should hate me, should yell at me. I should not do any of the things you're asking me to do." Arthur interrupted her, a little harsher than he had intended. He sighed when she tensed and fell silent. Yet another thing for them to discuss, if only she opened the door. "I'm helping you because we are friends, and because I don't want to see you getting kidnapped in a drunken state." He stuck to the facts, knowing not even she could misinterpret the truth while she was intoxicated. She whimpered, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I'm so lonely. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to look like them. I don't want them to be me," she repeated, words drenched in painful venom that only she could taste. Arthur, on the other hand, felt like he was at a loss. In all the years he had known Copperhead, she had never spoke about it, and he never thought it was important to ask. He knew he had probably overlooked a small part of their twisted relationship, but it was enough insight for him to know that this was picking apart the only strength Adrian had come to gain. Blonde knew her as a somewhat cocky and perfectionist person. She could tease and joke, but underlying to her own self, childishness was a seriousness and prejudice he could never seem to her. Now he knew why. She was never given a chance to be a child and experience the purest things in life. If he was right, the only that Adrian had been on the phone since they had met, not once had she been given the opportunity to be what she was, a child. Any other time, he would probably tell her to stop crying and try to let him know her was scared. But right now, she needed to cry. He knew that, and deep down, she knew that. After a moment, he cradled her head in his hand, holding her close and shielding her from any lingering thoughts. Her cries pained him, and he wished to never hear such an anguish from the usually happy girl. But he knew now that she wasn't happy. He wondered if she had ever once felt happy, but he didn't dare ask. He knew there had to be times in her life that she felt safe and happy, and he wished that those moments were when they were together, or in her corner. "Do you want me to bring you back to Uva's?" he asked, his voice hoarse and quiet. He didn't want to startle her, but he needed to ask her where she wanted to go. It slightly shocked him when she shook her head slowly, clinging onto him as if he were her lifeline. "No," she quietly whined. "I want to go with you," she whispered back. He exhaled a sigh, looking round in search for a familiar face, and he saw Mateo supporting an equally intoxicated Ava. Pulled out him, waving a hand. The slightly taller male gave him a look of relief before walking over to him, giving him a nervous smile as he tried to keep Ava from running off. "Glad to see a familiar face here," he chuckled, glancing at Adrian, who was keeping Arthur from standing properly. "I was wondering where she was. Is she giving you any trouble?" Arthur smiled slightly, shaking his head. "No. I just wanted to tell you that I'm going to bring her back to my flat, if that's okay." He saw a look of relief flash over Mateo's face again before he nodded in agreement. "Don't worry about her things. She still has some stuff at the apartment that she can use," he clarified, answering an unasked question. After all, the apartment was formerly his and Adrian's, and before that, just Adrian's. He left it untouched and exactly as it was before they left for Paris. "Okay then. I'm sure Ava will give her a call in the morning to phone. Take extra care of her, Arthur." Mateo's gaze hardened, a sense of security and authority fortifying his words. "I don't need to tell you twice that being left alone right now is not something Adrian needs." Arthur nodded, understanding what the taller male was getting at. He had seen it this whole time quite painfully clear. It was why he got angry at Adrian a few weeks ago. She had looked sickly pale, a lot than he could see the bruises along her arms and legs. You could see the bruises along her arms and legs. She was clearly overworking, yet she wore a smile apart from the moment her eyes met his. She looked like her world had shuddered, and he wondered why she had to make that face. Getting into the car was easier than hearing Adrian sob over what he could make out to be the sun setting. He sighed, beginning the drive back to the apartment he only ever stayed at when he was back in his hometown. He mostly had tuned out Adrian during the duration of the short ride home, so when he parked the car in front of his apartment, he was more than worried to hear that the culprit was silent. He turned to see what she had done, but couldn't help from laughing when he saw her glaring at him. "What's wrong?" He cleared his throat to hide his amusement. "You ignored me. I'm mad at you," she huffed, attempting to fold her arms and look away, but struggling to do so. "I'm sorry. My fault." Arthur smiled slightly, undoing his seatbelt and exiting the car, made his way around to Adrian's side and undid her seatbelt. She refused to move on her own in fear of throwing, so Arthur resorted to picking her up again. Once he made it to the door after a difficult stair climb, he entered the quaint apartment, closing and locking the door behind him before placing Adrian on the couch carefully. "You need to shower, but I'm afraid that if I leave you alone, you'll definitely fall and get a concussion or something like." "I don't need to shower," Adrian whined. "I look pretty." "Yes, but you need to clean up. Come on, I'll help you." Arthur helped her up, gripping her arm around his neck before slowly making his way to the bathroom. He sat her down on the toilet before grabbing out some necessities such as 2 towels, a hand towel, makeup remover, and moisturizer. He then searched in the small closet for her old bathing suit, which was really a black bikini set that he had got her when she was injured and needed help showering. Here, he handed it to her. I'll turn around, you put it on. He turned around, hearing nothing for a while. Is it? Oh, please? She finally asked, and he swiftly turned around, carefully pulling down the zipper to allow her to unclothe herself. He turned around again before she could undress, hearing nothing but the rustle of clothing before nothing was heard again. I'm dressed. He turned around to see her dress in her bikini, her dress and heels on the counter next to her. He had her sit down on the toilet again, wrapped in the towel, helping her take off her jewelry and undo her hair before using a cotton pad and the makeup remover to remove her makeup. He gently cleaned her face with the product, having to change the pad 3 times before her face, now slightly red and glossy, was clean of her makeup products. Okay, let's get you in the tub, he sighed, washing his hands and guiding her inside the bathtub. He sat her down and grabbed the shampoo, conditioner, and body wash bottle. He handed her the washcloth before turning on the water, testing the temperature with the back of his hand before grabbing the shower head and switching the water to the shower head. He switched the flow to a gentler setting before guiding it on top of Adrian's head, her hair absorbing the water. He set it down, pouring some body wash on the rag and making it foamy before handing it to Adrian, instructing her to clean herself as he began to wash her hair. Once she lathered herself in soap, he rinsed her off before using conditioner on her hair. He stayed focused on cleaning her, rinsing her off and turning on the water. Once he was done, he stood up and helped her out of the tub, wrapping her hair in a towel or wrapping the other towel around her body. Dried her face carefully before applying the moisturizer, putting away the products before getting her into his bedroom. He went directly to his closet, pulling out some of her old underwear, some pajama bottoms, and one of his old t-shirts for her to wear. He handed them to her, telling her to take her time and he'll be right outside for her. Once he left the room, he made his way to the kitchen, pouring some water into a kettle and placing it on the stove to heat up. Being mindful of her condition, he also poured some cool water into a cup and heated up some brown sugar and cinnamon oatmeal for her. He set them down on the coffee table in the living room and grabbed out a thick blanket and an extra pillow from his closet for her. A few minutes later, Adrian walked out of the room dressed in oversized clothes, her hair damp and eyes tired. He sighed, handing her over to the couch and using her towel to dry her hair. He had switched on some anime series that Adrian used to watch whenever she was sick as background noise and something for her to focus on as he dried her hair. But she seemed to really young. You weren't mad at me? She finally asked, and he finished drying her hair. Why would I be mad at you? He asked, heading to the kitchen to remove the tea kettle from the stove. Everything, she answered shortly. It took a moment, pouring them each some apple cider before heading back to the couch, answering her gently. No, I'm not. She sighed, her expression the same nonetheless. Good. She pulled Vincent's shoulder, and he grabbed the oatmeal for her to eat. You didn't drink the water. You'll be dehydrated in the morning, and you should get something in your stomach so you won't feel so sick. He urged her. If you can, drink the cider too. If you need anything else, I'll help you with it. She took the bowl from his hand and peered into it, remaining silent for a good while before speaking again. Not with me. He, she whispered, looking at him with delight. She set the bowl down and turned toward him, hands clasped together. Just don't stop talking to me. He stared at her, unable to do anything other than nod. Before he could register what was happening, he pulled a pair of lips on his, and he'd be lying if he said he didn't kiss her. In just that moment, it was as if they were back in physical, together and celebrating one of their many anniversaries. Everything seemed as if it were the same as before. His hands pulled her closer, her arms wrapped around his neck. It was everything to him. So he pushed her away, staring wide-eyed at her, knowing that tomorrow would have to explain himself and apologize for taking advantage of her. He cleared his throat and ruffled her hair, standing up and making his way to the living room. "I love you," she called out to him, making him breathe short. I never stopped. I never stopped loving you." The answer was bittersweet, and he felt his heart ache at the words. Every piece of closure he had felt started to fade away as more questions flooded his mind. Do you love me?" "No," he answered ultimately, and he wished he hadn't said it so definitely, because the sounds that followed was sharp and painful. "I don't know," he sighed, answering more truthfully. "I don't know how I feel about you." He didn't dare look back to her, staying in the hallway where he stood frozen. Eat the oatmeal and drink the fluids. Remote is on the coffee table. "When you're rest. You don't want to feel sick tomorrow," he said before walking away to his room with the reminiscence of their shared kiss and emotional confusion. And that was part 10 of Aquaphobia. And thinking it was more of a sort of filler groups, because I still have, I think, a couple more parts before the main that I'm excited for. So expect a few more before there's a change in scenery. Well, metaphoric change in scenery. But I hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for the next part. Bye!